So you've completed your 2D drawing with your various layers, and I want to just show you a couple of other quick shortcuts that will make your life a little bit easier. So you're setting up your panels with the tools that you like. One of them that I would include is called layer states. So if we go under these settings, we can choose the different tools that we want to show, and layer states is one that I would pick. Why do I like layer states? Right now we're looking at layers. We can see that sort of stacked pieces of paper. But layer states allows me to set up different groups of layers that I will often want to view together. So I have set up the pairings of layers that I like for each of the different views of my diagram. My anchor diagram has just a couple of layers. What I did was go into my layer settings and highlight which layers I wanted to be visible and which layer was going to be active. And then I went to my layer states, hit plus, and gave that a name. Let me just show you. So if I go back in and double click, I can very quickly get to selected sets of layers that I can use to navigate through my drawing. So there's my infrastructure, my primary figures, my radial field. And so that makes it a lot easier than having to turn off each of the layers one by one. The second thing that we're going to look at in this video is moving from the model space to the layout space. Now the model space is where we are actively working on our objects and we are working at a full scale. So in this case, this is a small object. If I wanted to, I could actually dimension it. You'll find your dimension tools under the drafting drop-down menu, and you'll find several different styles for your dimensions. So the reason that I want to have two different spaces is so that I'm modeling at a full scale, but when I go to print out, then I have control over the size and scale of my drawing. So if I'm drawing a piece of architecture, I will rarely want to print as large as the piece of architecture. So here I am, I'm in the model space. To get to the layout space, I'm simply going to type layout, pops up, automates. And now I'm going to have some choices. This is essentially setting up the sheet that I want this object to be shown on. So it's got a page number. The detail count, basically this means the number of windows that are going to be on the sheet. The size, let's go ahead and just give it a standard size, a letter, and it can be landscape or portrait. And I'm going to say apply. But here we are. So this is actually the layout. And you can see the program defaults to essentially filling up the window with the full model. And I want to show you a couple of controls that you have. So imagine this is a sheet of paper. Now I can go print this. But there are three different things that really you have control of here. If I click outside, I am actually on the sheet itself. So imagine I'm on my piece of paper. If I single click that square, I'm actually controlling the details. So I'm controlling the frame through which I'm looking at the model. So, you know, what do I want to do with that? I might want to shrink the frame. If I wanted to have multiple frames on a single page, I could sort of organize it in some certain way. If I want additional frames, I simply click on the plus and drag a new frame into the space. So you can imagine I could create a detail in one and a large scale image in the other. Let's just get rid of this one though. I'm going to go ahead and resize this. But again, a single click on the frame allows me to adjust the frame, and then a double click inside the frame essentially allows me to go into the space where the model is. So sheet, frame, model. So now that I'm on the model, I can begin to use my multi-button mouse to scroll. So I can scroll to change the apparent size of the object, or I can relocate the object within the frame. You know, I might generally set up the visual quality in order for it to fit on my composition, but if I'm very specifically concerned with the size, perhaps I'm trying to represent a plan at a 1/4 inch scale, or I'm trying to have my diagrammatic layout size to the 5x8, I will want to be a little bit more precise with that. So if I'm trying to understand what scale this image is going to print at, I need to be on my Properties View panel. So in my settings, I can either choose the inspector panels, which we're accustomed to, we're in those a lot of the time, or my properties panel. When I choose the properties panel, I will get either properties about the sheet, properties about the frame, or properties about the scale of the model. So right now, if I am zooming in and out of the model, you will see that it is changing the scale of the representation. And if I know that I want a 1:1, I can simply come over here, type in 1, hit enter, lock my image at the correct scale.